How forcefully did you raise issues such as the jailing of the pro-democracy campaigner Jimmy Lai, the treatment of the Uyghurs, for instance?
Well, we raised those issues as you would expect. Part of the rationale for engagement is to make sure that we can both seize the opportunities that are available, which is what we've done, but also have a mature discussion about issues that we disagree on.
Were they listening on that, you think?
Yes, we did have a respectful discussion about that, raise those issues, as you would expect. But that, if you like, is part and parcel of the reason to engage. It is in our national interest, it gives us great opportunities, but it also gives us the opportunity to have those discussions about areas where we disagree.
Oh, go a duck, you pathetic worm of a man. Where was your human rights when millions were being bombed and genocided in Gaza? Where's your condemnation for the American citizens being gunned down by the Trump regime in the streets of Minneapolis? You are a literal war criminal for your country's support of the genocide in Gaza. How dare you come to my country and lecture us about human rights when you and your ilk are responsible for the most horrendous atrocities against humanity and sovereignty that the world has seen since the end of the Second World War, which, may I remind you, was also a product of your glorious Western civilization. It is an insult to China's national dignity that we let these arrogant war criminals come to our country, beg for our trade and our investments while lecturing us on so-called human rights abuses that their own media invented in the first place. Honestly, I'm not sure who disgusts me more, Kiers Starmer, the war criminal, or Xi Jinping, the man who allowed this war criminal to run his mouth on our soil as he begs for our money. If China were a truly dignified country, it wouldn't let a single British head of state step foot on Chinese soil before first making a public apology for all the crimes committed by his country, specifically the historical crimes committed against China. The Opium Wars aren't ancient history. Hong Kong wasn't returned to us until 1997. I remember watching the ceremony, and I'm not that old. Instead of taking Starmer to the Great Wall, he should be led to the old summer palace in Beijing, the one the British troops burned down during the Second Opium War. That is a literal crime scene, and his country is a perpetrator. If these Angloids want a single cent from us, they need to pay us the historical debt that we are owed. That's what a dignified nation would demand. At the very least, the British need to return all the loot stolen from China that now sits in the British Museum. In fact, China can use this opportunity to show some global leadership for once and demand that all nations in the global south get their national treasures back from that same museum. Let the British Museum display British artifacts for a change, though I can't imagine what those would be. I don't know, toast sandwiches, canned beans, haggis? Actually, no, that's Scottish. The bottom line is that China needs to stand up for its own dignity as a nation. It can no longer allow these arrogant Angloid beggars and war criminals to waltz into China and then deign to lecture China about its imaginary human rights abuses. It needs to demand reparations and atonement for the historical crimes committed by these imperialist has-beens as a prerequisite for any further trade deals or investments. That's what a dignified nation would do, and that's what China needs to do if it wants to become a dignified nation. Anyway, that's my rant. Subscribe to hear me rant in the future. Peace.